tonight?
I hope you're not asking me.
Hollis? Hollis?
He's got no audio.
You're muted, Hollis.
Sorry, I was just setting up the live stream for YouTube.
Is Winston joining us tonight?
I haven't heard that he isn't.
Okay, let me just call him.
Acting Mayor Faith Avery sends her regrets.
All right.
Oh, Mark Porter, how are you?
You're not streaming.
Oh,
Haven't seen you in a long time.
Hi, Winston. Are you joining the board meeting
Hi, Mark.
by phone?
Hi,
No?
Annette.
Okay. Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure. That's okay. You got to do what you got to do. That's okay. Thanks, Winston. Okay, bye-bye. Winston sends his regrets. So who do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have quorum. 12. Are you all set, Hollis, with what you need to do technologically wise?
We are good and we are live on YouTube.
We are live on YouTube. Well, I'll call the meeting to order then. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Wade, can you talk to us if you need to? And Kathy and Dennis?
Yeah, I can you hear me? This is
Perfect.
Wade talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Just want to make sure everybody can fully participate. Alan's getting his.
Hear me, Joyce?
Part. I can hear you, Heather. Thank you. Carla?
I'm good.
Awesome. Ken? I know his microphone's muted, so it means he has one. And Doug?
yep, I'm okay.
Awesome.
I'm good to
All
go.
right. Everybody's set, so we'll call the meeting to order. We do have quorum plus, so that's excellent. And I don't know how many visitors we have on the interweb, but if you're watching, thank you for joining us. And certainly feel free to fire off your questions in the comments on YouTube or Facebook or however Hollis has that set up so you can participate when it's time for questions from the public. So at this point in time, I would need any board members who are in conflict of interest with anything on the agenda to so declare. Any conflicts noted? None noted? Okay, we'll proceed. The first thing we would need to do is have a motion to adopt the agenda, which was circulated in your board package. So we'd be looking for a motion to adopt as circulated.
So moved.
By Terry. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Annette,
Annette,
second?
yeah.
Okay. And any questions or discussion about the agenda? None? All in favor of accepting as circulated can raise your hand and leave it up till Claudette counts, please. And then we'll ask for those on the phone.
Good.
Wade, you're good?
Yeah, I'm
And
good.
who is WM on there? Who's WM?
Wayne McCory, maybe?
All- Wayne,
Wayne.
can you hear us, Wayne?
I'm just guessing. I
Okay,
thought
until
it
he
might be.
gets his audio.
I don't think he's on.
Probably
Okay.
is late because he sent in his expense form and.
Okay, I just see a participant there and I wanted to make sure I wasn't excluding anybody who maybe was just having technical issues. So that carried with all who were able to express either vocally or hands. So we'll move on to the adoption of the minutes of the April 3rd, 2020 meeting. And that was held via Zoom, our very first board meeting. And again, the minutes were in your package that was circulated to you. So we'd be looking for a motion to adopt as circulated.
I'll make an motion to adopt. Annette.
Annette, okay. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Heather. Any questions or discussion about those minutes? None noted. Okay, all in favor of accepting as circulated can put your hand up if you're on video, and those who aren't can say aye. Wade,
Yep, I'm in favor.
perfect. And somebody else just joined by phone. Who would that be?
Wayne.
Hi, Wayne. How you doing?
Oh, these damn computers are a pain in the ass.
There you go. Well, we are at the point of the at the point of the meeting where we've had a motion to adopt the minutes of the April 3rd meeting, and we've had it seconded, and we were taking the vote. So how do you vote on adopting those minutes, Wayne?
We're live.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Okay, and we are live on YouTube, so excellent. All right, so at this point in the agenda, we'll move to our guest presenter, and we're really happy that Dan DeCleva is able to join us. It's been quite a few months, Dan. I'm sure you're very, very busy, and it's so good to have you. So take the proverbial floor and talk to us.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I thought I'd just give you a bit of a sort of a wrap up of where we are right now, both globally, provincially, and regionally. And I'll throw numbers out at you. And if you have any questions, slow me down for sure. But so globally, as of this morning, with the COVID-19 front, we've had over 2,649,000 positive cases for global numbers. And out of those global numbers, we've had about 184,000 deaths. There's 5 main countries that have contributed to these numbers, US, Spain, Italy, France, and Germany. They make up about 59% of the international cases. Provincially, we are faring pretty good domestically here in Canada, with 118 cases and a number of days with a number of zeros going across the board. The Provincial Emergency Operations Center has now been activated for 78 days, and they have been at level 3 full activation for most of that. Other emergency operation centers in the province include the Department of Health. They have their EOC activated. The RCMP District Emergency Operations Center is activated. Point Lepreau has theirs. All 12 regional emergency operation centers have been activated to level 1, and a total of 104 municipal operation centers across the province. And including eight First Nations, which have either in some combination activated their EOC or declared a state of local emergency as their federal. So they didn't really fall under our state of emergency, so they would have declared their own. We've declared a state of emergency, and that was done on the 19th of March. And since then, we've had 3 renewals, with the most recent being on the 16th of April. The total number of cases that we've had, or I should say tests that we have done up to this afternoon, was 12,014 tests. We have 14 active cases right now. 5 are hospitalized, and 1 of those 5 is still in ICU. So that number has come down over the last couple of days, where we've been watching 3 ICU cases. So it's nice to see, especially since that death number is still at 0. So we have 104 recovered for our province. I'm going to throw a couple of numbers at you. You're aware that the New Brunswick Workers Emergency Income Benefit was put into place, and the Canadian Red Cross sort of handles the requests and the communications on this. So far, up to this morning, they've had 67,906 people register for the emergency income benefit, and they've doled out $34,650,000, and that's to 28,501 workers. So they've been really busy helping people out. On the same note, the Canadian Red Cross holds a call center where they've received almost 15,000, I guess not almost, exactly 15,262 calls. Out of those calls, they've escalated for additional information, for assistance and stuff like that, 320 of those calls. And out of all those, 23 households required registration for some sort, if it's not for their services such as relocation and housing and house placements and stuff like that. So out of those 23 households, that equals only 36 individuals. And those are strictly for COVID-19 issues. So one of the other initiatives that the province is working on right now that we continue to actively monitor and work with is the traffic control points. And there are 7 traffic control points around the province. And with the assistance of the RCMP and the Department of Public Safety and Natural Resources and Energy Development, with all those uniformed staff, I've been manning those consistently, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for, I think, over 4 weeks now. So,
Excuse
as
me,
a
Dan,
regional
if I could just ask a
Yes,
question.
go ahead.
How many folks are coming through into the province through those 7 points? Is it mainly truck traffic?
Unfortunately, I just don't get to see that data.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I understand that every traffic control point has a different volume. For instance, one of the reports was that up in the Edmundston area, there's one traffic control point up there that could see up to 300 cars a day. So, but I can't give you any definite numbers. I unfortunately don't get to see that data that comes through. So,
okay.
Regionally, the Regional Emergency Operations Center, number 10, REOC 10, has been activated since March 16th at level 1 enhanced monitoring. All 8 municipal EOCs have also activated, and they remain at the same posture as well, level 1 enhanced monitoring. We, as the regional emergency managers for every MEOC, I guess we call them, and myself, meet or try to meet once a day. And that's just so that we can stay connected and collaborate together, make sure that we're dealing, with the impact consequence management appropriately, and if just a forum for us to make sure that we stay connected and help each other out as needed. The region itself participates in 2 weekly health-related emergency regional planning and advisory committees. Because our RSC is divided into between 2 health authorities, or two health regional medical officers of health, 2 zones, I guess they call them. We have had 2 separate ones. So Southern York is part of the regional medical officer of health with Dr. Lamptey, and Charlotte County is with Dr. Barker. So we have 2 separate meetings, and my REAC would participate in both, and then a number of stakeholders such as yourselves partake in one, if not both of them. Finally, we're just at that state right now. The province is at that persist, carry on, and sustained mode. We continue to field a lot of questions, very specific questions on the mandatory order. But there's lots of talk now about what does recovery look like. Saskatchewan today pushed out their recovery plan. They were the first ones here in Canada to do so. And I think New Brunswick is very, very close to doing the same. So I expect to see it in a very similar format where we would see phasing, multiple phases, and slowly integrate back into what we would consider a new normal. That's pretty much all I have. Is there any questions that I can sort of help clear up?
If you'd like to ask a question, maybe just raise your hand so we can acknowledge everybody. Terry?
I don't have a question. I just want to thank Daniel for all the hard work and effort he has put into this. I get almost daily reports from him on the COVID, and he keeps us well informed. And I've thanked him personally, and now I'd like to thank him publicly for his hard work and effort. We really appreciate it and being kept informed.
Well, thank you, Mary James. I try very hard to make sure that you folks get those key messages when they come out, just so that if you have any questions with the public, that you have the best and the most up-to-date information I could provide to you. So I hope they're all helpful.
They are.
Doug Nash, did you have something?
Oh, I just said here.
Here,
I
here.
agree.
Awesome. Thank you. Are there any other questions from any of the board members to Dan? No, thank you, Dan, very much for your update. And we hope to have you back again soon when we can see some of the other measures that have been impacting New Brunswick and some of the work that kind of had to be halted. So we're looking forward to, as you say, getting back to a new normal and getting back into some of the other reports that we've had to kind of set aside. So thank you for joining us, Dan. Stay safe.
Yes, you as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right, thanks. That was good to have Dan join us, the Regional Emergency Management Coordinator for our Region 10. So we'll move on to business arising from the previous meetings, a statement from the chair regarding the board's operations during the restrictions. Just that, of course,
Oh, she froze up or something.
Yeah.
so we're still collecting and maybe just stockpiling.
Could you go
Carrie?
back? Because you froze up and we never heard what you said.
Oh, sure. How far back?
Right at the beginning, pretty much. Sorry.
Okay, sorry about that.
Hold on,
okay.
are you apologizing to us, Terry, or to Joyce?
Joyce.
To you guys, Alan, because you got to sit through it again. Okay, so Hollis, of course, has overseen the operations that have kept going because the garbage hasn't stopped. And thankfully, in this region, we haven't had to stop the recycling program because we aren't sorting it here. We're just stockpiling it until we can send it. So it's been a challenge, but operationally, we're still operating as a service commission. And of course, from the board perspective, we're still working as well. The committees are still meeting. There's lots of work still going on. So we do want to assure the public that work is still going on. And as part of this, you might remember that last board meeting on April 3rd, there was a motion to delay the AGM until we can meet again. And so occasionally, while we're in this state of affairs, there may be times when the executive committee feels that it needs to reach out to the board and say, normally our bylaws would require this. However, because of the conditions we're in, we don't know if we can meet this and we may have to get permission to have an exemption, but that will always be brought to the board on a case-by-case basis. And hopefully it won't last too much longer. I'm really hoping that by the time we have our next board meeting, we'll be able to meet in public. That may be wishful thinking, but I'm certainly looking forward to that day. So just be apprised that if we need to make changes, if the executive committee feels that in order to conduct business, we may have to ask for an exemption on something, we'll certainly bring it to your attention and it will be at your discretion if that's the case. So new business, nothing to report under new business. So we'll move on to committee and staff reports, and we'll start with our executive director's report. Hollis.
Okay, it's in your package there. There's a bit of writing to it. I'm just going to skim over some stuff. Our waste totals are down a little bit year over year. I wouldn't necessarily read much into that just yet. Some of that could have been the beginning of the wharf demolition last year. I don't remember when exactly that started. But it is something that I am keeping an eye on to see what impact on waste. I had a suspicion that household waste actually would have gone up because a lot of people are home doing cleaning and spring cleaning, but I'll know better at the end of next month. In the planning department under building permits, you'll notice that year over year building permits are way down, but development permits are way up. explanation for that is a lot of things that used to be building permits are actually development permits in municipalities that we serve. So same thing, just a different type of permit. So overall, there's actually more, even with the pandemic, there's actually more, as much or more activity in terms of building permits. So that's good. The other stuff I had in my report, we're just going to continue to follow provincial directives to make sure that we're following all of the things that we need to do in terms of our workers.
Hollis, back to the permitting. Are you including the town of St. Stephen's in your list? Okay,
Yes.
so that should bring it up then.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It definitely makes a difference. Yeah. PRAC had their first virtual meeting last Thursday. It went extremely well. It was quite a long meeting. There's a lot accomplished. And my hat's off to all the PRAC members and the work that committee did. It went quite well. It used the webinar option on Zoom so that we had attendees from the public that we could bring into the meeting and then back out when they had something to some feedback to offer on the different files. Staff and PRAC members did an excellent job. So besides the COVID-19 stuff, the other thing that I had in there was about our strategic plan that was adopted last month. I have a few notes about some stuff that I have done, but I am looking to have some board direction on how often you want a strategic plan update. Is that a monthly? Is that a quarterly? Don't have to tell me right now, but think about that, and I'll find a good format or try to work on a good format to report back on all the KPIs from our strategic plan on a regular basis so that
I know, Hollis, when you and I met with Wendy, she did give some suggested formats for that. And she did say it should form a part, even if it's just a minute or two, it should form a part of every board meeting.
Absolutely.
So certainly for next board meeting, it would be nice for you to have something to send out in the package and an update for us for sure.
Yep, there is.
And then we can.
I included some of it in this report, but I think a separate strategic plan report maybe.
Perhaps. I think that'd be easier to follow. Yes, for sure.
I think so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pretty much all I had.
All right. Any questions for Hollis about his report? Board members?
No.
None?
Dennis?
Oh, wow. We're getting through our agenda fast
Just
tonight,
a note,
people.
Hollis.
Yes,
Just a
Sam?
note, Hollis, actually, it was our second PRAC meeting, second PRAC virtual meeting.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Or-
It's the first one I was involved with.
You're the chair of that, are you,
Okay.
Sam?
The-
Sam, you're the chair of that.
Yes, the
Yeah.
first one did not, yes, that's correct. The first one didn't involve the public, but the second one involved the public as well, so it went
Awesome.
very well.
Awesome. Awesome. That's excellent. All
Dennis?
right. Dennis?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. I'd like to see everybody when they're not speaking to mute their speakers. I have a very hard job. I have to shut out on my video because it lets me pick up a little more. But with the extra noise, I have a hard job staying connected. Thank you.
Noted.
All right. So we'll move on at the next point in time with no questions, further questions for Hollis. We'll move on to the Regional and Collaborative Oversight Committee, the RCOC report, and the chair of that is Terry James.
Okay, great. We had a meeting on April 9th. It was a virtual meeting. It was fairly well attended. We had a recreation update from Tanya Harrington and different points that were shared. New Coastal Link update and the new logo was shared. Macadam shared services and possibility of cost sharing. The rec director with the LSD meeting that she had with the school district, and the Eastern Charlotte SRRF committee update. There is not adequate gymnasium space or multi-use space available. Fields are not adequate in terms of quality, and arenas need to have wheelchair accessibility. And I can tell you that's something that we
Carries through.
numbers told us that recycling is being sorted and stored at Hemlock Knoll, but the program has not changed. New Brunswick waste reduction video shoot went well. February's Know Your Plastics promotion went well. And the quarterly milk and pop bottle audits have been delayed until further notice. The white goods program's on hold for a month, and a new load of recycling carts is on hold as well, as the company is shut down due to restrictions. We did have a roundtable where Mayor Stanek spoke of municipal workers being back to work with extra precaution measures in place. Cleaning staff have changed their hours. Our executive director spoke with the Department of Environment and Local Government regarding electrical permits. And as of April 8, NB Power has started issuing permits again. That's good news. Mayor Naish mentioned staff has adapted has adapted nice and setting up barricades and tape for tourist season to slow down. Mayor McEachran spoke of union contract changes with the shutdown and is working well with the town. So what our action items, we still want to look at the estimated costs for insurance, engineering, accounting, and legal. And we hope to have that information available for discussion to see if there's ways perhaps that we can work together. After that, the meeting adjourned. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Terry. Are there any questions from board members for Terry? Yes, Alan?
Just a comment, the trail logo is being rethought out.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
So now it's, I thought it was a done deal.
They're voting on it the next day, yes. But yeah, so they're gonna reevaluate that because it's leaning too much more like a cycle and not our area.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about that at our meeting there, but yeah, so they were quite divided at their board or their committee level anyway, so they decided to revisit it and put more effort.
Good.
And yeah, so hopefully they'll come up and show us something new.
Awesome.
Great. Yeah.
Collaboration and being willing to relook at something is always good.
Yeah, and I'll just share, just because it is a good story, when she was talking about the union of the town of St. Stephen, they did, like, under the emergency measures that we're going through, they changed their job description, which was totally beneficial and thoughtful, and we much appreciated through this. So staff could go work in other departments and move around and keep working and
awesome.
And support the taxpayers. So it was really good. Hats off to them for taking that on and
excellent.
Working with the community.
Excellent. That is good news. Very good news. Yeah. That's awesome. Any other questions for Terry or comments? No? Okay, we'll move on to the Bylaw Committee report, and mistakenly my name is on there. It's actually Jim whose name should be there. So he's going to present the Bylaw Committee report.
Okay, the Bylaw Committee met on Tuesday of this week, and we started to take a look at the bylaws that were recognized as possibly needing to be updated or reviewed. There is a list that went out in the package so that if you've had a chance to look at it, you may see the ones that we have looked at so far. There's about 8 of them, 8 or 9 there. Some of them are just a change in wording, and some of them are additions and changes in meeting in the content of the bylaw. So we wanted
Do
this.
we have that document in our board package?
Yes, you do. So we just wanted everyone to have a copy to see what we're looking at right now. We are
I
also
can't
looking.
find it. I can only find the,
It would have been sent out with the package sent yesterday, Terry.
right?
Yeah, would have been sent out yesterday.
So
Okay, let me just look.
we've looked at these ones so far, and we wonder if anyone else who's been on committees or whatnot, chairs of committees, remember other motions or things that should have been reviewed to sent back for bylaw review. And if anyone has anything, we would like for them to submit them to the committee so that we could take a further look at them. We're also taking a dive into the minutes of all the meetings for the last 3 or 4 years and seeing whether there were motions made that would affect bylaws. So that's the state right now. We are probably going to be meeting at least 2 or 3 more times before we have a final report ready, and then we will have it presented to the board.
Absolutely.
So that's my report tonight.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim? We just certainly wanted to make you aware that we were working on it, and the list that was sent to you was a list that Hollis had compiled to kind of get our minds started on it and give us a starting point. But I know for myself, I have started going through the bylaws again, line by line, point by point, and there are some obsolete phrases or positions referred to or things that maybe might have fit the last time we did it in 2015, but it's 5 years now, and so we're looking at it. So we are investing a lot of time and energy in it. I just wanted you to know it started after many promises that it was going to. It has actually started, so we're excited to be doing that for you. Thank you, Jim. Any questions?
Yeah.
I'll ask one more time for Jim. Yeah, Terry.
I've lost connection there and come back on, but as I was saying, I do not have a copy of the document that he was referring to.
Okay.
So I'd like to have that for consideration
for sure
before any motions are made.
Oh, absolutely. There's no motion tonight. There's no motion tonight.
Well, like I said,
Hollis,
my screen went blank.
Okay, absolutely. Hollis can email that to you right now, actually.
I'll send it right
Okay,
now.
good, awesome.
And Claudette can send it as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
No problem. All right. So with the bylaw committee report done.
Dennis got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it, Dennis. Sorry, my apologies, Dennis. You got to turn your microphone on. Dennis, yeah.
Yeah, Hollis, maybe you could just go to the ones, because I'm still getting an awful lot of feedback here, and there's 5 or 6 here that doesn't have their speakers muted.
There, I muted everybody. You have to unmute yourselves if you need to talk.
I do.
Thank you.
I already unmuted myself. All right. So then we'll move on to, thank you, Jim, very much for that. And thank you for stepping up to the plate and being the chair of that committee. It's an honor to be working with you and Annette. So thank you for that. All right. So we'll move on to Finance and Audit Committee report. And Winston, unfortunately, due to the workload, he's I chatted with him just before we called the meeting to order, and he's unable to join us tonight. So perhaps what we'll do is, who else is on the Finance and Audit Committee? Ken?
I'm on that committee, but my phone just died on me, so I can't read the report. So
okay.
Maybe Doug has it, or
Doug,
Mark
do you have
Porter's right there.
Okay, I have it in front of me, and
Yeah,
Mark, It's certainly at the discretion of the board. I know it's not something we would normally do, but in light of the technical challenges and Winston not being able to join us, I don't mind giving the report and starting the motion or reading the motions. And I don't know, this is unusual.
No, I think that would be wonderful if you would do that.
Okay, I have certainly not something I try to do very often at all, as you all know. Okay, I'm just going to find it here because I was resorting my papers. All right. So the Finance and Audit Committee met just once, and it was triggered out of a discussion in Executive Committee, actually. So we met via video conference to discuss a couple of items. The first one would be to accept the audited statements. So we are going to make a motion to approve those a little later at the end of this. You can tell I'm not used to this at the end of this report. And then the second one that the Executive Committee discussed when we were setting the agenda is normally we appoint our auditors for the next year or for this current fiscal year at the AGM. However, because our AGM has been delayed by motion and we don't know when that is going to happen, if we tried to appoint our auditors outside of the AGM, we would have to get a motion to kind of step outside the bylaws and then get a motion to appoint them. So we kicked it back to Finance and Audit Committee, and the decision was made to sign a memorandum of understanding. We were going to recommend signing a memorandum of understanding with the auditors to kind of make sure that they know we want them and that they have committed to us their time. So they will be our auditors. And then we'll do a formal appointment at the AGM so that we're not in violation of the bylaws. So that's what the discussion was limited to. And as a result of that, we have two motions to make. As per the recommendations.
Just before you do, Joyce, I just wanted to let you know that I contacted Dylan at Teed Saunders and asked him about the MOU.
Yep.
Absolutely no problem doing that.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. So I move that the commission approve the 2019 audit statements prepared by Teed Saunders and Company. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Doug? Oh,
Joyce.
Doug had his hand up first, Ken, sorry.
That's all right. Nope.
Joyce,
All right. Are there any questions
Joyce,
about? Yes,
point of order. I don't,
absolutely.
I think someone else has to make the motion. The chair can't make a motion.
Absolutely. Then
Yes.
I'll rescind that then if not my place to do it.
I can just, I'll just say I made the motion on
Okay,
that
that's
one.
good.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. We do
Yeah.
want to make sure it's correct. Thank you. So Ken made the motion. And do we need a new seconder now? Or can Doug's second stand? Okay. All right. So we have a motion from Ken. We have a second from Doug. Are there any questions? And if there are questions, I would ask you to direct them to Mark, our financial officer, please. No questions? You're a quiet bunch tonight. All right. All in favor of accepting the audited statements as presented by our auditors can raise your hand so Claudette can record your vote. Those on the phone, that would be Wade.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Wayne McQuarrie.
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. Anyone I've missed? Claudette, you got everybody? Okay, thank you. It has carried. All right, the second one was a motion coming forward from the Finance and Audit Committee. I will read the motion and then one of the other members of the Finance and Audit Committee can make the motion. I'm just going to read it in case their technology is glitching, all right? I'm not making it, I'm just reading it. And then another member will actually make the motion. So what I'm reading at the bottom is I move on what Winston was going to say. I move to forward a memo of understanding or MOU to Teed Saunders and Company stating that they will be appointed the auditors for the 2020 fiscal year and the formal appointment will be made whenever the AGM occurs. I've read the motion. Which one of the Finance and Audit Committee members wants to make the motion? Doug?
I'll make that motion.
Doug has made it. You have to be on the Finance and Audit Committee, Annette,
Oh, okay,
to
sorry.
make it, but thank you. Now we can have a seconder from outside it. Do we have a motion to second that memo of understanding motion? Not a motion to second it. Do we have a seconder for the motion?
I'll second it.
Gary? I think my internet just went down.
Seconded by Terry.
Seconded by Terry. Thank you. Any questions about that motion to sign a memorandum of understanding and do the formal appointment at the AGM? No questions? All right, all in favor of the motion can once again raise your hands. So Annette, so Claudette can record your vote. Everybody's hand is up. Wade?
Yeah, I'm good.
Wayne?
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. Anybody not in favor can indicate by saying no. No, we have no nays. All right, the motion has carried. Thank you so very, very much for your patience with me fumbling my way through that. So with that, we come to the end of our agenda. We'd be looking to set the time and date of the next regular board meeting. Per standing motion, it's the fourth Thursday of every month. And that would be May the 28th, 2020 at 6:00 p.m. either via Zoom or the board table if we are allowed, but we'll certainly give you lots of notice of whichever way it has to be. So with that set, unless there's a motion to change that, we'll assume it holds. No motion to change. All right. Questions from
Madam
the public?
Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, did we not have to as part of the finance, accept the statements for the month of March at this meeting? We deferred it from the last meeting.
That did get missed from the agenda, Jim. It was supposed to be.
I thought it was under finance, but
it wasn't in the report. And it's because
No.
Winston wasn't here and I was reading it.
No.
I missed that.
The materials are in the package.
Yes, they are. So perhaps what we did delay the motion, and we also have March. No, we don't have April's in there. Yeah, they are in the package. I have them right here. And that was going to be on the agenda. You're right, Jim. When the executive committee met, that was going to be there. Let me just find the statements there in my stack of papers.
You can make a motion and add that to the agenda once we get support of the whole board.
And they were sent out again this month to you? Pardon me?
I'm just saying we can make a motion and add that to the agenda as long as we have full support of the whole board and vote on it.
Certainly, yeah, because it was discussed at the executive committee level. It got missed my eyes again when I laid eyes on it. So it was actually a motion from last month to accept them this month. So absolutely. Alan, are you making the motion to amend the agenda to add the approval of those March minutes?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Jim?
Yeah.
Okay, any questions about what was just discussed? Because we're dealing with papers that were actually presented first last board meeting. Any questions? These are the March financial statements that were presented at the April 3rd board meeting and looked over. Maybe what I'll do, because Winston wasn't at the board meeting when they were first circulated. Yeah, Mark?
The ones at the last meeting, I believe, would have been the February.
No, it was March the 31st. We held the meeting on April 3rd. We held the meeting on April 3rd.
Didn't we have to do 2 months?
No.
I wouldn't have had the April or the March statements done by April 3rd. They were just done last week.
The financial statements that you have in your package right now are up to March, but what was at the April 3rd meeting was my financial statement that I provide. So what you have now, you did not have at the last board meeting.
Okay, so the one that was kicked ahead to this month is not in this package then?
No.
I misunderstood, Hollis, because when I was talking to you, I said it was February's and you said, no, it was March's because it was year to date and the meeting was April 3rd. So I
That's
thought
right.
that was the, huh?
That's right. The financial statement that was in the April 3rd meeting was the one that I do, which is like a year-to-date thing.
Right.
Marks weren't available for the April 3rd meeting for the end of March yet.
Okay.
So I had these, which are Mark's reports, which is what I included in this package.
Okay. Gotcha. So we had a report from the Finance and Audit Committee, but it wasn't the ones from Mark for the end of March. So
Should have been for February.
no, they were done to March 31st because I remember we had this discussion at Executive Committee. Hollis, can you bring up on screen share the statements that were in the April 3rd board meeting, please? Because that was made a motion that we approve them.
These ones say
At this board
March
meeting?
in
They
our
do.
package.
I recall going through those numbers that Hollis had given us, but they weren't a formal statement. They were just an informal statement that Hollis had given us.
Okay.
That's the way I understood it.
All right. So I'm in a bit of a dilemma here because I thought they were the draft.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a
so
draft, Hollis.
the information was the same. It still was till the end of March. So is there any violation perceived or to accept the March financial statements at tonight's meeting because of the difference? They were both till March 31st. These are the ones prepared for our financial officer, the one that went out in tonight's package, and they are to the same date. And you would have had them in your package to look through. Mark, do you want to just take a minute and give us an update of where we're at year to date since
No
Winston
problem.
isn't with us? Thank you.
All right, so my numbers here till the end of March. So
Joyce, you have a motion on the
for
floor.
all the funds.
Oh, sorry,
You have a
sorry,
motion.
Mark, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. You have. to
No,
add-
no, no, that's,
You have to add this item to the
thank you.
agenda.
Thank you, Claudette.
It's been moved by Alan and seconded by Jim, but there's been no call.
Okay, so we are adding to the agenda the acceptance of the financial statements up to March 31st, and then Mark, we had a motion, we have a seconder?
Alan and Jim.
Yeah, okay, so Mark can discuss them and we can ask Mark questions and then we'll,
You got to call for the vote.
Alan, are you ready to vote? Is that what you're doing? Okay, all in favor of accepting can say aye. Or
Aye.
raise your hand, I guess, for Claudette to count. It makes it easier for her.
Okay.
Wade,
I'm good.
We're
Wayne?
not a hard bunch to get along with.
Good,
No, Wayne?
good.
Okay. Mark, you want to go over them now?
Sure, we can do that. So the statements that you just got in the back, there was a surplus of 390,000 for all three funds. And most of that would be 351,000 is solid waste, which is a normal situation. And local planning has a surplus of 22,535, and cooperative and regional has a surplus of 4,179. And both local planning and cooperative and regional have surpluses at this point in time, as the member revenue comes on an even basis. But the expenses don't typically happen for I'll just give you a little information on solid waste. As Hollis had mentioned, the residential waste for this period is actually up 4.9%. So everybody's home clean. Now, it may have a limited effect there because our emergency order came into effect on March 19th. So I don't expect all that increase from 12 days of closure. Our industrial, commercial, and institutional waste is actually down 109,000 for the previous year, for March 2019. But as Hollis has said, in that period, there was a lot of wharf demolition revenue. So 146,000 of that 190,000 decrease from wharf work. So really, our ICI waste reduction is about 17.8% when I take the wharf revenue out. Our US waste continues to go up. The revenue compared to the same period last year is up 13%. And part of that is because we increased for our US customers. It's also increased time. So we're in a good position as far as I can see. We'll see what April and May bring. Any questions?
Mark, your audio was cutting out for me, so I got most of it, but it might have been hard to hear, just so you know.
Okay. Yeah, everybody seems cut out.
You were a bit broken, Mark, but from previous reports that you've given, it's easier if we've heard it before, we know what the format is, so we can kind of follow it a little better. So the only thing that I missed was the first number that you gave us, and that was on the operations.
For the total surplus?
Yes.
9,000 is the surplus.
It broke up again.
Maybe it's by volume. 390,000 is the surplus.
390,000, Mark? 390,000. Yeah.
1,000 of that belongs to solid waste.
Oh, no way.
You want me to go through the rest of it again?
I don't know what's up, Mark, but we can't hear you well. All right. So we're in good shape. We're tracking along. There's nothing too far one way or too far the other year to date, right, Mark? Perfect. Tracking along. Good. All right. I would say if there's any questions for Mark, but it's like he's not in a position to answer them anyway. So maybe if you have one, send it in writing to him and he can come back to us with that.
Hi, Joyce. The
Yes.
net income is 390,255.25. That's to March 31st.
Yeah, the total revenue was almost 1.4 million year to date. Yeah, and then the surplus year to date was 390,000. And then it's broken down by silos, which I'll bring you back to that same total. And so our revenue was 1.4 almost, and our total expenses were just shy of $1 million. So that's where you get the surplus from year to date. Perfect. All right. So we had that addition to the agenda. We had Mark discuss the financial statements to March. Now we'd be looking for, I've lost my train of thought.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion. Did we already accept the statements?
I believe so. It was moved and
Yeah, we need a
seconded,
motion
and
to
we did
accept the
have,
statements.
Pardon me?
You need a motion to accept.
That's what I was thinking we were at. We had the motion to amend the agenda.
And then we need a motion to accept the statement.
Yeah, and Mark presented the statements and now we need the motion to accept them. So does anybody want to make the motion to accept the financial statements as
I move.
presented by Mark?
So moved.
Seconded by Sam's got his hand up, had it up for a bit.
Yep.
Okay, yep,
Yes.
moved by Dennis, seconded by Sam. Perfect. Are there any questions for Mark about those statements or discussions? Not that he can answer, but. All right, all in favor of accepting as presented can raise your hand so Claudette can take the count, please. Wade,
I'm good.
Wayne,
Yep, I'm good.
perfect. Anybody who's not in favor of accepting can raise your hand or say, I'm not in favor, so we can hear you. None noted. The motion to accept has carried. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Mark, for presenting those. Winston's absence. We set the date and time of our next meeting, so now we'll be looking at questions and answers with the public in attendance. Are there any questions that have come in, Hollis?
No emails and nothing on the chat.
Nothing on the chat, nothing, okay. No questions? All right. We've at the end of our agenda and we're looking
I
for a
have
motion.
one.
Oh,
I
Dennis
have a
has a
question
question.
first before we go.
yeah, just a sec. Yeah, we'll go through them. It looks like a couple have a question. Alan, did you have your hand up? No? Dennis?
I just wanted to mention that this is all fine and good with our meetings here on Zoom. But if we happen to have an in-committee meeting,
In camera.
my understanding is that Zoom is not very secure. The
Right.
board at the Manor, they went with, maybe you can help me out there, Ken. I can't remember just what it was now. But they went with a different outfit because Zoom was not secure enough.
There are other platforms. There's one called GoToMeeting, and there are several other
That's-
platforms available. that if we
Zoom is
needed to-
secure as long as you make a sign-in password and the administrator monitors who's on and makes sure you know who's on.
Just thought I'd bring that up.
No,
For sure.
it has been mentioned, but like I said, if you have a sign-in password and watch who's on, you can monitor it.
Make them have to log in and be accepted each time.
That's my 2 cents anyway, but
Right.
just thought.
But if we do need one, Dennis, we'll make sure we thoroughly flesh that out and make sure it's a very secure option that will protect the integrity of an in-camera session. But hopefully we won't need anything while we're forced to use Zoom. So, but thank you for bringing it up because it is something that we do need to be mindful of if that comes to pass for sure, Dennis. So thank you. All right, with any other questions from the board about anything or notes or comments? Nothing. We'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion,
Dennis.
motion to
I
adjourn.
move.
Yep.
Dennis.
I move.
Thanks. See you. It's good to see you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
I know.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.